Moving on to topic two, let's switch over to wrestling. Everybody's favorite topic, everybody's favorite talking point. WWE had their Survivor Series War Games pay per view premium live event this past Saturday, whilst we were doing Extra Life, so I couldn't catch it live. But caught the replay yesterday on Monday as of recording. And I just want to go over the matches, what happened, how I thought the event went overall, and where I think things could go from here, including the Monday Night Raw afterwards. Didn't really fully look into that results, but I guess I could pull it up now, and we could see where things are going. So, only a total of 5 matches from Survivor Series. We had the Women's War Games match, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch against Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. We had AJ Styles and Finn Balor. We had the SmackDown Women's Championship of Ronda Rousey defending against Shotzi. We had the U.S. Championship triple threat with Seth Rollins defending against Theory and Bobby Lashley. And then we had the Men's War Game match with the Bloodline against the Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. So, only 5. Kind of surprising because, well, at least in terms of old WWE pay-per-views, this was not that many matches, and they used to have a shit ton. So everybody got their time, and especially, obviously, the War Games matches were going to take a shit ton of time. But I thought overall the event went pretty well. Both War Games matches were exciting. Definitely have a few criticisms here and there about them specifically. As for the other matches, I feel they weren't the best, but they were okay at worst. So yeah, let's get on into it. So the show opened up with the Women's War Games match. Once again, I'm not going to say the teams. Team Bianca versus Team Damage Control. And I thought the ladies did a fantastic job. I do not think this was the best Women's War Games match. I think that might have been NXT 2018 with Team Ripley versus Team Baszler. I think that one's probably still the best. This one was good, though. We had a couple moments of a little bit of roughness. Just some things didn't go super duper well. There was a moment where Kai and Sky were working together, and unfortunately Io Sky was in the corner, kind of lifted herself up almost like a handstand on the corner ropes to kind of like slingshot herself down to do like a knee strike or a foot stomp on her opponent. And unfortunately, it just happens. Just happened to lose her balance, so she kind of fell towards the cage and then kind of had to reset herself for the movement. There was that. There was one kind of sketchy super kick going towards Mia Yim in a trash can lid that didn't really even get picked up towards the chin. Other than that, ladies did great. Heavy reliance on weapons here, similar to maybe the last NXT War Games match with like Cora Jade's team and who were they against? I'm not sure. But the 2.0 gals. A lot of weapon use here, which isn't bad. Like, obviously, I get it. Anything goes in this match. You know, you want to bring these things in, just pop the fans because we're freaking idiots when it comes to these things. Oh my God, they have a kendo stick. They have a table. You know, like, I get it. But it was, I don't know how many kendo sticks they brought in. I don't know how many trash can lids they brought in. Like, it was a lot of things, and there was a lot in those rings that were not people. And when they were used, good. But the times when they were just bringing it in, it was like, your partner's sitting there, needs assistance. Get your ass in the ring and try and help them out. We had some good spots. Io did a nice moonsault off the top of the cage, as well as Nikki Cross doing a dive off the top. Becky with the finish doing a leg drop through a table both on Kai and Sky for the finish was great. We had some good finishers and reversals towards the end, from the Kiss of Death to the Rose Plant to the Manhandle Slam. That was all great. Mia Yim looked fantastic in this match. Really, really good job from her with some through the ropes dives, some slams onto full trash cans. just had a really good performance herself, which I'm happy to see. Her kind of make more of a name for herself. Obviously, she went to Impact and did some work there, and she was never bad. It's just like she has stiff competition now here on the WWE roster to be a standout, and I think this was definitely a step in the right direction for her. So excited to see how she progresses going forward after this match. Potentially, maybe her and Rhea will have a follow-up program, which both seem to work very well together, so that will be all good. Like I said, Becky would pick up the win here with that jump off the top of the cage. I guess it makes sense. Team Good winning here instead of Damage Control and those guys, especially as we get to later. So good on them. It's following up on Monday. It seems like Becky's going to be feuding with Bayley. I'm not sure about Kai and Sky. And then Bliss seems to be turning to whatever this Fiend project is. I've heard a little bit of criticism from the What Culture Wrestling guys on this, which I can kind of understand what they're saying. I was fine with the Alexa Bliss spooky character. It wasn't always my favorite, but I was okay with it. If it's something she wants to do, great. I mean, I'm sure merch sales wise, she was crushing it with that, especially with the Lily doll. I'm not saying we need to get all back into that, but if it's something she wants to do, great. And obviously her and Bray have, good working chemistry together. But the What Culture guys were saying having her do this heel turn naturally is just like being a contender for the championship, and kind of using this teamwork partnership just because it was advantageous at the time also makes sense, but seems we're going to go more of the Fiend, or at least whatever the fuck is going on with Bray, that route now. I will say Nikki Cross looks great back as more of her insane character. I'm not sure where her storyline's going to go. Her theme being the mix of old Sanity theme, harkening back to the NXT days was fun. Solid match from the ladies. After that, we moved on to Styles and Balor, and I know this match had a lot of hype going around of it, or going towards it, because obviously these two, have a lot of history, Bullet Club, New Japan, etc. We had the one match of them together kind of thrown quickly together because Bray was sick that one time, and that was fun. I'm not sure if it was just because the overhype or whatever, but this match was, at least in my opinion, just okay. Nothing really super excited me about it. They were laying in their shots, which was kind of like not fun, but like, oof, all right, good for you guys. Finish came up kind of quick too. We had a forearm followed up by a phenomenal forearm for the 1-2-3. Not too much to really comment on that one. We did have Good Brothers and Judgment Day out there at the beginning, but then they fought into the crowd and took care of each other and eliminated each other from the match. So no interference post that. And yeah, it was just a fine match. And then we got into Ronda defending her SmackDown title against Shotzi. Now, this one we could have seen a mile away. Sorry, Shotzi, I love you, but we're not at that point yet, and it's freaking Ronda, because Ronda can do no wrong. I will say they at least gave Shotzi time, not a lot of time, but gave her some time to put in some offense, and she was successful with the offense. We had Shayna Baszler on the side the entire time, so in elements of it, it did seem like a 2-on-1 handicap match. But yeah, Shotzi stood no chance. There was a couple maneuvers also that didn't really go off super great. Just not sure if it was miscommunication or whatever. There's a Hurricane Rana attempt where Shotzi was almost dumped on her head as she was flipping over. Whatever. Ronda would retain, to nobody's surprise. I think this is a step in the right direction for Shotzi. Obviously, put her in this picture, have her do some offense that isn't, totally messed up from time to time. And yeah, elevate her, push her, but it wasn't the time where obviously this was believable. Unfortunately, we still have some work to do with Shotzi, and it's not just Shotzi alone. It's like, unfortunately, I think Raquel Rodriguez now, she needs to be elevated back up from her NXT days. Who else is on SmackDown? Crud. Blanking. There's some other NXT call-up over there that I can't... Oh, well, not NXT, but Liv. Liv has fallen down from grace a little bit. B-Fab doesn't really wrestle as far as I know, so that's not even a contender. If we were to bring back Tegan Nox for SmackDown roster, I think that'd be a step in the right direction, but you got to build her for general audiences. SmackDown's women's roster is lacking a little bit, at least in terms of believable contenders, I think, for that main women's championship. Shayna would be great, but Shayna still hasn't been the badass she was when she was in NXT, and I don't know why we're not pulling the trigger with that. I get the whole buddy-buddy relationship with Ronda because they are BFFs, and it makes sense to both former MMA people, but we're still not pulling the trigger on going back to the well and what worked, so I don't know. But yeah, like I said, mixed bag. Good to see Shotzi in the spotlight. Not a great match overall. A lot of Sasha chants as well. We were in Boston during this time. She has still not come back, so we'll see. After that was the Triple Threat, the U.S. title match. I will say this was the surprise beyond surprises. From being at Monday Night Raw, I had no interest in this match because I don't know who the fuck I'm supposed to cheer on. Bobby's being an asshole. Seth's being an asshole. Theory, typically an asshole. Who's the good guy in this thing? Didn't really pan out in the match of who I was supposed to cheer for. I like Rollins. I like Theory. I respect Lashley. But the three went out there and they put on a great show, or a great match. This felt like one of those more energetic triple threats of like everybody was really trying to win, interfering with other people's stuff, saving the match, interrupting maneuvers. The saves that we had seen, especially there was one, Lashley had the Hurt Lock on Theory. Theory did the Brock Lesnar move where he pushed off the turnbuckles and Lashley was stuck or didn't let go. And then on 2.5, Seth came off the top rope and frog splash Lashley, breaking up the pin there. That was awesome. We had a step off curb stomp, so stepped off of Theory, curb stomped Lashley from Rollins, which was great. Rollins at one point was doing dives like back in his OG Shield days and Independent days at one point. That was cool to see. Great match by these three. I think the way it ended was Rollins had picked up Theory to do some kind of suplex. Lashley spears Rollins. They crumble. And Theory kind of winds up on Rollins, gets the 1, 2, 3. So Theory's now a 2-time U.S. champ. I know Theory's not everybody's favorite. I like him a lot. I like him from his NXT days with The Way. I know this character's not maybe my most favorite, but I like him. I have faith in him. So hopefully he can keep going and we can keep using him in a good way. But yeah, solid match from these three. Very exciting. And then we got into the men's war game, Bloodline versus Brutes, McIntyre and Owens. Whole night we were kind of building this story as we had the whole Sami Zayn issue talking to Kevin Owens on SmackDown. Jay tried to warn Roman. Then Roman talked to Sami. Sami explained the whole situation. They hug it out. Roman gives this weird look as they're hugging where he's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to trust you fully. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's not great. And then we get to the match itself. Match itself was fine. Definitely escalated once all 10 men were in the ring in terms of the Sami storyline that they are telling and is going very, very well. Nothing super exciting until that point. We did have Jay start out with Pete Dunne, aka Butch. Butch was manhandling him. Then Ridge came down to help. Then Jimmy Uso was supposed to come down, but he was told no, as Sammy was sent, and Sammy and Jay were supposed to work out their problems in there. Had that go on, continue. Solo Sikoa came in and dominated as his character should. However, one criticism on my behalf, I don't know if this man, like, I get paying homage to Umaga. Umaga was fantastic, regardless of his iteration of character. He was solid. Solo don't be Umaga. Be you. He did a lot of the wah, rage, like war cry things and stomping around and slapping his chest, and like, this maybe one would have been fine. We're going a little far here. Just be the intimidator, the Street Fighter persona that you are rocking. We don't need the bulldozer. But he did great. He's been very proficient, it seems, on the main roster, and I'm happy for him. And then, we got towards the finale. So KO and Roman are doing their thing, slapping the shit out of each other, possibly rupturing eardrums. That's a whole different story. Owens picks up Roman with a pop-up powerbomb, smacks him with that and a stunner, pins him, goes for 1, goes for 2. On 3, Sammy will catch the ref's hand, stops the pin. They get in a little verbal altercation. Jimmy Uso attempts to super kick Kevin Owens. Owens catches it. Sammy drops to his knees. Kapah! Gives him the biggest low blow. And then, with a nod of approval from Roman, runs to the corner, runs to Owens, Haluva kicks him, and then offers up the body of Owens to Jey Uso, to splash him, get the 1, 2, 3, and Bloodline will take it here. They seem stronger than ever as hugs were exchanged throughout. It's going to be interesting to see how this storyline continues. As we saw on Monday, Owens kind of talked to Sammy and the guys, saying he was just disappointed that Sammy had chose this path. And then him and Jay, I think, had a match later on in the night. But yeah, where does this leave us with Sammy and the Bloodline? When is the turn going to happen? Is the turn going to happen? And are we going to build to... Which path are we going to build to? Are we going to build to the quote-unquote safe path of Owens and Zayn reuniting and going after the tag belts? Or are we going to build towards the more adventurous path, in theory, that I've heard about, of Zayn going the solo route and potentially going against Roman for the title? Tough to say. Right now we're in November. Mania's in April. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 months. What's going to happen in 4 months' time that would cause this rift? Obviously, we had, the rift of Owens and a little chatter in Sammy's ear. Not that Sammy was convinced, but obviously that kind of caused a little bit of cracks and suspicion between the group. I don't know what else can happen from here to drive a wedge into this. Not sure. But really, do you think really he would go for the singles run? So I like, this is another theory that I've heard from other podcasters. I can't take credit for it. I think it's a fun idea. And the reason I think it's a fun idea is thinking back to Zayn's NXT days when he was first there going against Neville. It was a big climb to Neville to get to that championship. When he eventually won that championship, and like, this is after obviously his matches with Neville, his matches with Cesaro, like, the dude can work. And granted, it's been years and years since that, but if he can work back up to that level, I think it would be interesting. And especially with how much the crowd is behind him right now, that is a big moment. On the percentage of it happening, it's probably lower. Because you gotta. It's an interesting, like, it's almost like you got to do a mixture of things. Okay, let's circle back to Kofi Mania, right? Now Kofi was going against Daniel Bryan. Now Daniel Bryan's obviously not like a physical threat like a Brock or a Roman or I don't know, some other big asshole. But if you think about Kofi Mania, we took Kofi, who was solid and entertaining, and we put him and his friends through a gauntlet. We put him through this rough build to the top and Daniel Bryan. And we had all this faith built behind him. I feel like we could do something similar with Sammy, where the podcast theory is Bloodline would turn on him, and literally that's when they would break the no blood thing, and they would leave him in a bloody pulp in the ring. And the imagery of that would get, like, just surge everybody behind Sammy. And then from there, you could have Sammy do this build. This is where I'm kicking in now. You have Sammy do this build like a Kofi, where maybe he's got to work his way through the bloodline. He can get back to the ring, or not the ring, but get back to the energy type of matches that he had when he was face NXT, and maybe build up to that point. I don't know if he would eclipse and take it from Roman, but that could be a story at least of like fan investment that would be really good. We're in a dangerous spot with Roman now, and I think we've talked about it before, Papa Griff off stream, and maybe it's either them or on podcast, I don't know. Where we're in an interesting spot, in a dangerous spot with Roman of like, yeah, who takes it from him? Rock seems to be the viable option in terms of this whole tribal chief story, right? Like, Rock's obviously part of the family. Obviously, he's very successful in Hollywood. Obviously, he's very successful in past WWE. Like, he's the great one. Millions and millions, all that jazz. That makes sense from a logical standpoint, but then we fall into the trouble of like, oh, he's a Hollywood guy. He's not going to be around all the time. And then who beats The Rock, I guess, if you really want to consider that. I guess that really doesn't matter at that point. So you got option A, you got Dwayne. Okay, great. You got option B, which is Rhodes. Rhodes obviously came from AEW. He talks about this whole thing with his dad and now fulfilling the prophecy, or at least, the goal there of achieving the championship that his father never held. So obviously he comes back from this pec injury. He wins the Rumble. He goes against Roman. I know Cody's not everybody's favorite. I'd be okay with it, but I don't know if it would be my favorite option. Not anything against Cody. I just mean like in terms of a payoff. Cena is another interesting one, but I feel he falls in the same category as Rock, where Cena does a great job, obviously, at what he does, and he's very dedicated to the WWE and all that jazz. And he has credibility. I think this would be 16 for him if he wins, unless he's already at 16th, or that would break the record. But he's been away for so long, which not a bad thing. Good for him. He's had success, outside. I don't know if he needs it. Like, and then it comes to the thing like, okay, you balance the credibility of like, oh yeah, I can see X beating Roman, but then you also want somebody who gains something out of this, Like, does Dwayne need something out of this? Does Cena need something out of this? Does Cody need something out of this? I guess Cody makes the most sense out of these three, at least for like gaining something out of it in terms of the WWE fans, because we saw him in Legacy, we saw his upbringing, and then afterwards he left, he exploded, or at least made something of himself in a Ring of Honor, in a New Japan, in an eventual AEW. In the WWE's eyes, he's just like, oh my God, these are the fans who know he was over there at a different company and kind of built that up, and like, this is the big, whoa, like he's here now kind of thing. So that could work. But yeah, you want somebody who feels legit. And like Drew felt legit, and obviously we didn't pull the trigger at Clash of the Castle with him. That would have been another huge moment, especially being over in the UK and Wales and doing that. But we decided not to do that because we already had this long built up thing with Roman of whatever we're trying to tell here, and that would have felt like, well, there's all those plans, pow. You just blast them to hell. It's rough because it's almost the point where, like, if you didn't have a plan, now you're scrambling to find the solution to that plan, and that's the worst. I don't know. Bringing back a Bobby Roode is glorious again, somewhat believable. I'd love for glorious Bobby Roode to come back, but like even that, at least to me, I don't know if that would pay off. Braun, no. Braun's good. This is another one of those super pushes, which I get it. I don't know. I'm good. I don't want Braun Breaker there. Unless you meant Strowman, then hell no. What you don't want is for Reigns to drop to someone like Omos. Yeah, but Roman's beating all of the big dudes. Then there's Bray. Yeah, so Bray's another interesting element into this too, right? Because Bray's legit. However, you get in the spooky wooky, mystical, magical stuff with Bray. And while it's entertaining to watch and scratch your brain about of like what's going on, all that stuff, if Bray was still Eater of Worlds Bray, I'd say yes. But now that he's got these outlying forces, it'd be scary. It's not scary, terrifying, but it'd be one of those things where it's like, I don't want this to be based on hocus pocus. I want this to be just them going at it. And if they could do that where they don't have to rely on anything like that, then I'm down. Sure, let's do it. But right now, Bray's character seems to be focused on that, which is fine, because it fits this little niche and bubble of, like, something different. But I don't know how I feel about that. Cody makes the most sense. Almost Cody makes the most sense. But where do you dump Sami's in? Yeah, which I understand why people have been talking about the tag picture a long time of him and Owens getting back together. They dethrone the Usos. And I'm fine with that. It's just not my most favorite thing. And it's tough. Yeah, where do you... If it's not that, where do you put him? And that's this weird Booker game here of like, okay, how do all the pieces fit together? Where do you put people where it feels like it's a constant uphill of growth instead of start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, like we've seen countless times in numerous companies where there's a push and then they do nothing. There's a push, then they do nothing. Because Sami's done everything that I can think of besides the big one, other than the NXT title. He's had IC gold. Okay, he hasn't had tag gold, so I guess that's something. I think he's had US? No, he challenged for US in the Open Challenge. Okay, maybe he hasn't done that much as I thought. He's done a lot of storylines where he's not had a title included. But IC was the big run. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Because once again, you want these people to be involved in stuff, but there's so many players and the right stories obviously have to come into play. Like, do him and Solo Sikoa have a program? Him and Jay have a program? Some other family member of the Samoan dynasty from somewhere else? Not sure. I don't know. So yeah, we'll have to see where things progress. Nobody beats Roman. Who's the next warrior? Oh boy. We'll have to see where things progress from here in terms of the bloodline and where characters go from here. It seems like maybe KO will be the next person in line for Roman's title to most likely lose at the next premium live event. And then does Sheamus get a shot? Does Drew get another shot? Who's to say? I guess it'll just be a matter of time. And then, yeah, Rumble comes around in January. Is Cody good enough to come back? Or are we going to mix something up there and somebody else wins? If Money in the Bank's back at Mania, does that come into play at all? Does Seth get inserted back into the main picture? Which I'd be fine with, but it's another one of like, we've seen this before. Which isn't a bad thing. It's just not stale, but not as unique. Who knows? Is Sikoa believable if he turned for some reason? I haven't... Well, okay, that's a lie. I have seen him as a face, but he's typically the same character as a face. I don't know why he would turn unless he just wanted to whoop ass on his own. Like, I don't need nobody. Because I know originally I think that was what he wanted for himself. He didn't want to rely on the Uso name because obviously he's Jay and Jimmy's brother. So that's why he went with the Sikoa name. Is he wanted to kind of forge his own path. But now obviously he's been brought up into the bloodline. So that would be my only guess, is just to forge his own path. But yeah, he would just be essentially the same character. Maybe just a little change in verbiage if he were to cut a promo or anything like that. I don't know. Well, guys, we'll have to see how things play out in the scheme of the Universal Heavyweight Championship and all that jazz. But I hope you guys enjoyed Survivor Series, enjoyed War Games this year. Curious to see if this will be a yearly tradition. I know we're kind of getting rid of branded pay-per-views like TLC and stuff, so if we're doing that but then we're adding War Games to this one, I don't know if that will happen, but we did that with NXT. Who knows? Time will tell. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll have to see where things go from here. This has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. And if you want to catch this podcast live, you go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, usually. We record it live. You join the conversation like Rainbow and Papa Griff did today. And we'll have some fun with the conversations. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, #ad merch store. You can get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand. Support us, and we would love you for it. Remember, any way you can help out and support, whether it's the merch or just likes, comments, reviews, shares, anything you can do really does help out the podcast and the show. So please do that. We'd appreciate you for it. Remember, our second charity stream is coming up on December 10th. So as of release, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. You can check us out over there. We're playing some games, having some fun, trying to reach our goal of $2,000 raised for Extra Life and Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. If we do reach that goal, bye-bye hair. We'll shave my head. Not live on stream, but, soon after. And we'll just have some fun with that. But I appreciate you guys listening today. If you guys tuned in to Extra Life this past weekend, thank you so much for watching, sharing, donating, anything you guys did with that event. We had a very successful year, and that is all in part to you. So thank you so much for your time and your generosity. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.